Okay, we're back in part 2. So we're going to wait for them to migrate back over here. Not a big deal. I want to still leave the I want to leave the link out there normally so we can get people filled up. It's a lot easier to start a new hangout and get by getting sniped than not having the ability of people to come in. So it's okay to start another hangout. It's not a big deal. So anyway, Midnight, did you give the link out to them?
Well, no, I was kicked out also.
Oh, you clicked that out. Okay. So what we're gonna do is, if you want to just message me, I'll give it a few minutes here, and we'll just give people the link as they request it. After I verify who you are, that way we'll just keep the link internal. Sound good? So I know Druss was in there. It's a Druss. Druce. Legend. Okay, I found actually a perfect outside chat for this. So Nestle, Tony, Barney, those guys I can see in another hangout. I'm giving them the link. Matt. And then anybody else can just message me for it. Tony, Barney, those guys I can see. Oh, you got a feedback there, Barney. Okay, so hang on one sec. I got a cough. Yeah, if anything, it actually kind of, I hate to say, it kind of works out to my advantage, because if I have the more videos I have, the more ad revenue I get, even though it's minimal. But it's because it's so crappy right now, but it all adds up, right? So, well, let me tell you. Let me tell you the story on these snipers things. What's going on, so you guys are aware of this. There's a group of individuals. Matt, your mic. There's a group of individuals that hang out with Sidney Wilson. Ask an Atheist. They are a troll group. They have people like Down Corner. They have people like I Am Outbound or Outbound Unstoppable. They go around trolling, sniping, porn bombing. These are the ones that are doing it. So anybody that hangs out with Sidney Wilson is questionable. I have 2 people that I know that do hang out with him that I have earned my trust, that I'm okay with. They are the Mortal Army, that guy, and Bulldog. But anybody else, I really am questioning. If they go to any of Sidney Wilson's hangouts, I'm going to question them. And I probably won't let them in if I don't know them, because that whole group is just a bunch of snipers and porn bombers, right? So,
well, they should be doing that to like flat earthers and stupid channels,
They used to. But there's a conservative effort to do it to my channel for right now, right? They're literally going out of their way to do it.
You piss someone off.
No, well, of course I pissed them off. These people are just idiots. I can't stand Down Corner. I think he's the biggest idiot I've ever seen in my entire life. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to piss off those kind of people. But let's get back on track here now that we got everybody back. So, what should we do about the situations where the people are just outright claiming dishonesty when I ask for examples and they cannot provide them, or when Heretic gives me examples of things that are not being claimed? Every example he's given so far is basically me showing people that I have preferred one definition or another, and that I've tried to convince people one definition is better than another. But he has 3 claims, and the claims are that I have demanded people to use one definition. He has said that there is only. I have said there is only one definition, right? Do you remember the claims he made? Let me see. I have them right here. So
it's basically like what Pipe was doing the other night.
yeah. To me, it's called gaslighting. We have a few people in the community that I've seen that love to gaslight, and we all kind of know who those people are. But I think Heretic at this point is gaslighting. Either he's being willfully deceptive, or he's being willfully ignorant of what I'm saying, and he just doesn't understand it. At which point, where do I go from that? If he can't understand it,
that's a Ken Ham quote. That's a Ken Ham quote right there. Received. Good job.
What's that? What quote?
Willfully dishonest, or what you just said. Ken Ham intros, most of his things like that. Yeah.
So, Steve, in other words, they're shit starters.
Yeah, that's what they are, right? Like, I mean, like he posts here. He posts this thing I had to Ozpin Crane. In other words, I reject theism and I reject atheism. I'm giving my logical breakdown of it. How is that an argument that I'm insisting everybody else uses the philosophical definitions I use? I even put here to Agrippa 7. He points out, I say there's a philosophical definition of atheism, which is the one I use, which is someone who believes that God does not exist. I've never ever said otherwise of that. That's my whole argument. But that doesn't mean you have to use it. And that's what Heretic has claimed.
He's making the assumption you're asserting that as a brute fact.
Well, it's not a brute fact. Definitely not a brute fact. Brute fact.
Well, no, I know that was the whole point of the statement.
Oh, I get you. Oh, yeah. It's I would never sit that as a brute fact. But here's the claims. And first of all, let me put on the cameraman here. Not that anybody else has a link, but okay. So now he assumes all. That's what he's doing. He's reading I as all. Here's his claims that he has made. Excuse me. Claim number 1. Your assertion that an atheist is solely one who believes God does not exist, as opposed to one that does not believe God exists, is merely a position you wish to have, and you have bleated on it for years. Now, and that is my position, that I think one is better than the other, but is it my position that I've ever said that an atheist is solely one who believes in God? Have I ever stated that to anybody in the Great Debate community? Anybody here or anybody in the live feed? Please tell me now if I've ever stated that to you. Chirp.
You've stated that that's the definition that you prefer.
Yeah, and I have made the claim that's a philosophical definition, right?
You have made that claim. I believe that that's the part that MP is trying to.
He actually, okay. I always hate saying MP believes this because then he changes the next day. But the last thing MP told me was he agrees with me on atheism. He doesn't agree with me on atheist. And I don't know why he's making such a distinction, but yeah, he agrees with me that that's a philosophical definition of atheism, but not of atheist.
I've seen a lot of people confronting him really harshly, even though in all the threads that he has started on the topic, he has said, I agree with you. This is the issue that I have, that authority was invoked, and I cannot back it up by my own research. So he went through the dictionaries, he looked it up. Wherever the term atheist is defined, it's defined with both meanings.
It depends. There's some places that it is and some places that it isn't. I've given him other sources. So it really depends where you go, but it doesn't really matter to this argument. So claim number 1, would you guys say heretic is out to lunch?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but yeah. I mean, the other thing is English his first language? That would be my next question.
He's British.
Okay, cool. Doesn't necessarily mean it's his first language, but a lot of people don't speak British very well, English very well.
You don't speak British? Okay, so fair enough.
No.
The only confusion there is that he takes it that your preferred position is you stating that it's the only possible position, and you arguing for your preferred position is you saying you're not allowed to use any of it. But that's let me see.
I'm trying to screen share the chat too, but that's not going to work, is it? I want the
because I do know that in places like Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Romania, and not Romania. Oh shit, which is the other one? Bulgaria. The definition for I translates funny. That was my only thing.
Okay, I see what you're saying. No, it's English. He speaks English. Okay, now I can't get the chat. At least I can see the chat. Let me get Tony in here real quick. Chris, you're gonna have to ask one of the guys in the video here for the link. Maybe Barney can pass it out. And Heretic, you can ask Barney for the link too.
Yeah. I doubt that they have my contact.
Yeah, and see, here's the thing. People have to understand context, right? I write an awful lot, and you can't just take one statement. When I say something was not an atheist, I have said you're not an atheist in a philosophical definition, right? Mm-hmm. Which in accordance to the philosophical definition of the general speaking what a proposition, the proposition of theism. But that doesn't make you not an atheist. I have never once said a person is not an atheist for not accepting philosophical definitions. That's the point, right? And when I say atheism means that somebody believes that God exists, I am again explaining the philosophical definition. You can't just take snippets from whole long paragraphs and say, oh, Steve said this, ergo that's the thing. So I've never made such an assertion that you must ever adhere to a specific claim. So claim 1, let's go through this again. And Heretic, you're more than welcome to come in. We get the link from Barney or from Tony or even Midnight. So
I'm driving right now. I'm sorry.
Okay. So claim 1, your assertion that that an atheist is solely one who believes God does not exist, as opposed to one who does not believe in God, is merely a position you wish to have it, and has believed on for about over a year now. So again, when have I ever said an atheist is solely one that believes in God? Okay, I've never said that. Now, I've said that according to philosophical definitions, an atheist is somebody who believes God does not exist, which I maintain. That's been the whole point. In philosophy, that's generally how it's understood to be. But I've never said that is the only definition. So Heretic is wrong on that one. Claim number 2. Your post constantly demand X is right while Y is wrong, precisely because you hold one strict fundamental definition. First of all, I've said this again numerous times, and Sock account has been there numerous times when I've said this. I don't believe that you have words that have intrinsic meanings. I don't think words have intrinsic meaning. There's no really right or wrong. I don't want to use those labels. There's more useful and less useful, right? So I think one definition is more useful, and I've given arguments as to why I think it's more specific. But I said the claim says your post constantly demand X is right and Y is wrong. I've never said the colloquial definition is wrong. Ever. I've never said defining atheism and lack of belief is wrong. I said it's wrong to say that is just one way to define it. That is only a lack of belief, because atheism is more than one thing. It's either a lack of belief or a belief that God does not exist, which entails a lack of belief. If you believe God does not exist, you also lack a belief, right? Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, because you cannot have a belief that God does not exist and at the same time not have a lack of belief. It makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so claim number 2, have I ever demanded one definition is right and one is wrong?
No, you just demand that if someone has a belief, that they are able to that belief or you believe in it,
right.
or you'd be able to,
justify it.
Okay, so this is what Heretic in the live chat is claiming as evidence that he's not understanding. He's actually building a straw man. He says, by Steve McRae, atheism is the belief that there is no God by formal definitions. Right. That is, I stand by that. I've said that atheism is the belief that God does not exist by formal definitions. In colloquial definitions, it doesn't have that. In colloquial, it just says it's a lack of belief. What is difficult to understand about that? Does anybody not understand this besides Heretic? Okay, so you all understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes, it took me a while because I was from the atheist experience point of view for a little bit there, and then I didn't quite get what you were talking about. But the more I heard it, I was like, okay, I understand now. You want people to be able to describe their idea,
Right?
Or yeah. Sorry.
So then Heretic likes to point out the logic, and again, the logics that I'm showing is that when people say you must be atheist or theist, I point out logically that's not true, because by other definitions, you're not required to be one or the other, right? By formal definitions, logically, I can show that if you accept the formal definitions, you are neither atheist or theist, which makes that into a false dichotomy at that point. So again, everything that Heretic is showing in the live chat is only proving my position that I've said numerous times, and it's actually evidence against his claims. So, all right. So real quick. So number 2, definitely, he has not met his burden on that one. Jay, do you want to chime in real quick? I speak quickly. I know people live chat. I'll slow
there
down.
we go.
for you.
I had to unmute myself here.
Jay, did you see
I
the?
have no idea what you're
made?
talking about.
You never do. No, I'm kidding. All right. Well,
I know.
since you haven't been really paying attention, let me read you the claim, and you tell me if you think this claim is substantiated by evidence. Claim number 1. Your assertion that an atheist is solely one who believes God does not exist, as opposed to one that does not believe God exists, is merely a position you wish to have, and you have bleeded on it for over a year.
No.
So have I ever said that an atheist is solely one who believes in God and there's no other definition?
No, you have not. You have not. We've discussed this a lot, or I've listened to your discussions about this a lot. You have never done that.
Okay. Claim
Also,
number 2. Okay.
Not merely a position you wish to have, because you've gone to, Stanford and other places, and I said we've discussed this.
Oh, and by the way, you guys might want to tell Heretic. Heretic says 79 votes on your poll, 76% agree that you claim you have never made the assertion is wrong. Do you guys want to explain to Heretic on that, what happened? Because we just went over at the beginning. Jade, you weren't here.
Yeah.
With the troll accounts. Barney?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I can do it. Yeah,
so explain to Heretic how those 76% got to that 76%, because I've already demonstrated the evidence of that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, sorry. I was
Okay.
going to talk about the cleaning house of troll accounts, but this is before I joined, so I'm
Yeah,
curious to crack on.
Yeah, okay. Well, I claim that they're troll accounts. I have showed in the last hangout their troll accounts. Would you like me to do it again? Okay, so this is why they're troll accounts. Let me bring this up real quick.
This is why you believe that they are troll accounts.
This is why I believe they're
Steve,
troll accounts.
Steve, can I chime in for a second?
Well, I'm showing the evidence for this.
Well, okay, so we all know that you're a person with a lot of credibility. I think people are just being assholes because they know for a fact that you have a lot of respect in here, and they're just trying to start shit so that way people look at you and be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't respect them. I think that that's all they want, because I've known.
100% aware of that.
Like,
thank you, I appreciate that, and you're right. But here's the thing: what do we do at that point when you have somebody trolling like that?
just basically ignore the fuck out of them, man, because they're just gonna keep trolling. Either if it's with you, or they move on to the next person. That's all they're gonna do. They don't give a fuck. They just want a laugh out.
But here's the thing:
Someone.
I do that with known trolls. Heretic, I can't say is a known troll because he actually, has actual conversations, and I don't know if he's actually doing this to troll. But Heretic is not a troll. I don't know if he's trolling though for whatever reason, or he just literally can't understand what the hell's going on. I don't know. I really don't know either way. Right?
Honestly, think it would be so much simpler if Heretic comes into the room, discusses it with you. I'll shut the fuck up. And you actually see if this is a misunderstanding, or someone is mistaken. That seems to be the simplest way to get around this.
And it'd be so much more enjoyable too.
Yeah,
I'm still trying to find the other post. Where's it at? Ugh, so many posts in the GDC.
This is what happens when you deal with philosophy. You got so many different views, it makes people confused, and then they get mad when they're confused. Good job, Steve.
I know. Well, I think he severely is confused. I think he's woefully confused. But
different views are not the problem. The problem is when people do not accept that other people can have different views.
Well, it is a bit of a headfuck concept. And I have to say, the first time I listened through it was at sort of 7 o'clock at the morning at a bus stop. And I can understand why it's difficult to get your head around, because it is not. It's a reverse way of thinking about the situation. It's about the nearest I can get to it.
Yeah, but I mean, I've explained this ad nauseum. At this point, I just want people to realize, because it's not going to happen again, that the onus is no longer on me. I've done my due diligence to explain this. If somebody at this point doesn't understand it, I don't have any responsibility to go further in it, because at this, I don't know whether they're trolling or they're not. But either way, I've done my due diligence, right? So here's the two different posts. Okay, the one on the right here, one poll, and the one from the left is from the other poll. Everybody from Cannibal Fresh on, people, well, almost, there's some real people, but none of these people have any on the G+, and it's almost the exact same order in the polls. These two things, they're actually in the exact same orders, right? But
yes, they attacked it at the same time. And
Galen, Sandwood, Jax. I mean, do you guys see this?
Yeah, I see
well, it. To be fair, the only flaw I can find in your logic is someone comes on and just clicks on both votes. Oh, they're two separate posts.
Obviously, do not know who any of these people are. They have no content on any of them, and they're in the exact same order, pretty much.
Yeah, so just sock accounts. Yep.
That's right.
I'm not really sure how to give Heretic the link without posting it in there. I mean, I don't have him. I don't have him on G+.
Oh, do you have him on G+? Heretic, have you got me on G+?
It's your mom's left boob. How did that even get approved? Potato brain. How did these names even get approved?
I don't think anyone
Dr.
checks.
Batter. I do. I don't just randomly approve people, but there's not. But any moderator can approve people, right? Dr. Batter, Atheist Art, right here. See, I mean, these GURP full account. They just go through and they say, okay, the next person, they vote. They go to the next person, they vote. These are all in order.
Can you tell when these accounts were activated, when they started, or no? You can't get that.
Got me some. I mean, do you guys are we on agreement that accounts for the most part, except for the very first? And Living Free, I do know is a person. I don't know who he is, but I think he's a flat earther, so he could be the one doing it. I know, but except for MP.
Steve, there's a point being made in the side chat by TomTom that the order does not match the order when the votes were made. That G+ sorts them.
Okay, that might even be true, but it's the exact same group.
It's the same people who have voted, but not necessarily in the same order.
No, these are all. See, but I disagree with that, because look at the names we know. There's only 4 names we know in this, maybe 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 names in here. The rest of these people I don't know. Not a single one. What's the odds of the entire Great Debate community not voting, and 80% of the people voting are people we've never heard of?
Well, in a community that has
none of these. Wait. None of these names really appear on any of the votes.
In a community that has 1,130 members, how many of them do you know?
The odds are astronomically against that. The odds are astronomically against that, because you look at all the other votes.
Yeah, no, it's always the same people who are posting, who are commenting, and who are voting. Most of the others.
I mean, let's look at here. 19 votes, right? Rather opposed to 107. I bet 19 votes. I bet we know all these names. Okay, I know both those names. I know every one of these names so far. Every one of these people I know, except for Martin, I don't think. But here's the bigger picture. I actually asked for evidence. Did any one of those people give me any evidence whatsoever? So the whatever the vote is meaningless. The point is that none of them gave me evidence to substantiate the vote. So I think they're all trolls. We will clean them out, but they don't have any evidence. Then what's the point? But anyways, going back to what claim. Let me the claims. Let me find them again.
I think, to be honest, we're making a huge storm out of a teacup.
Well, I want to get on record that this is the last time I want to be dealing with this, and the next time somebody brings this up, I need my moderators just to start moderating for troll people and troll accounts, because this is the last time I'm going through this. Because to me, this is just people are acting trollish, right? And I want people to understand why. And since I can't just go through and say, oh, because people are attacking me, they're a troll. That's not how it works, obviously. I don't want that to be the case. I need my moderators to step in. I'm giving my moderators evidence that these people are just trolling. So let me find the, go back to the claims, and then we'll move on here. Because Jade is a moderator, so.
Yeah, do you know I've never accepted anyone into the Great Debate community? Because on the occasions where I wanted to, someone already beat me to it. So I'm innocent. But no, I think you've made a good point. We need to check up on these people. It's entirely possible that someone could be new to the community and have a brand new channel that they haven't done anything with. So if we find a channel with no subscribers and maybe even an odd name, I think the thing to do for a moderator is to ask them who they are.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with that.
Hi there. Yeah, I see that you're new and you have a somewhat questionable name, and we're being a little careful of trolls, something nice, and saying, could you tell us a little something about you before we approve you? I think that's the way to go.
Yeah. But when it comes to that poll, real quick, since none of those people in that poll, besides Heretic, try to provide any evidence, the vote means nothing.
Yes,
because
it does. You're right.
Clearly, I asked, if you vote, give me the evidence for it. So I don't know any of these people. How do they know that I've said something? If I don't know who the hell they are. They don't know. So anyway, oh, shit.
Somebody just decided, I think somebody, or maybe some buddies, it may have been a couple, three, you don't know. I think they just decided to yank your chain.
Which is fine. That's why it's cool, but I want my moderators to know about this. So when it happens again, when people start trolling like this, they need to be warned, admonished, and feel free to remove them. I don't want to play this game anymore, right? Because I've done all that I can now to explain my position. And if two people or one or two people can't understand it, that's on their problem. So I asked Heretic to provide evidence. He didn't provide any evidence to support it, anything that I've substantiated. And I'm going to go on to number three. Number three, because you demand that people use the philosophical atheist definition. Again, when have I ever made that statement?
Again, I agree. You don't do that.
No, you have referred to various different definitions.
I sent Harrison the Hangout link. Sorry, Jade.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, hopefully he shows up.
You've argued from that position.
Yes.
You haven't demanded other people accept it. I think that's the difference I would say.
Now, Heretic,
and one thing,
come in.
One thing Steve has made clear many times, it's something I've made clear, lots of other people in his community have made clear, is that if we're going to have a discussion, we will simply agree on what definition we're going to use. And Steve has been amenable to using different definitions for different things for the purpose of discussion. So I don't know where he's ever pedantically insisted that a particular definition be used. I'm not saying that Steve can't be pedantic. He can be. So can I. So can a lot of us.
Yeah, I think we're sorry, Steve. We're proving you can be pedantic right now.
You're pedantic because I'm pedantic now. It's only on
Can I just point out,
right? But
go ahead, Jade. Finish. We'll quick then tonight.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm done. Really.
Well, no. I just wanted to say that MP, maybe C is SM, meaning Steve McRae deserves to have some trolls.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
What?
Anyways,
dude, I sent you the link on your YouTube messages. Hopefully they're private. Come in.
Yeah, he says, Heretic says, maybe Steve McRae deserves to have some trolls. Okay, whatever. I mean, I'm okay with a little trolling here and there.
And I am too. I think, especially if they're creative. But when they get...
That's what I like to see.
When they're stupid, that's when it's annoying.
Jay, did you watch the Cerberus Destruction? The Cerberus Destruction, which it was the Cerberus discussion on Drag's channel.
No, I don't think I did. I think I started and it just got.
Wait, weren't you part of it?
No, I was part of the one on Steve's channel.
I'm pretty sure you were
on Drag's channel.
Who knows? I sometimes forget where I am.
I think you were there. You were at the side chat. Cerberus was talking
about.
Got
owned. That could be.
Yeah, he got owned.
By the way, MP wanted the link. Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
All he's got to do is message me. Oh, there he is.
Oh, there
I gave him the link.
Right.
Yeah,
So let me
I
ask
sometimes
MP.
forget where
Mic
I've
check.
been, believe me, and it has nothing to do with old age. It just has to do with, you get. I think in this community, it's like, wait, was that Steve's hangout or Drag's hangout or
Oh, it's
whose
fine.
hangout
Together.
the
I
guys
get the
in?
same thing. All right. So in the geek room, you can join too, because all right. So MP, can your mic work?
Yeah, I'm good. What's up?
Okay. So let me ask you, what heretics claims are. Have you, one of my biggest distractors, but you're not a troll. You've never been a troll, but you're a distractor. That's fine, but you're an honest one.
Is he a detractor or a distractor?
Distractor.
Both, right?
But MP's fair. We just disagree on certain things. But maybe he's definitely not troll. MP, have I ever said you must use a specific definition over one or the other to you?
Now, I don't want to take up too much time, but I first answered no, because I've never heard you say those words.
Okay.
I've never heard you say those words. But then I changed my answer to yes, because I did go back and look at a video in which somebody came into a hangout that we were in. And this is when I first was kind of getting wind of this topic, because I did the same thing. And that's what I put in the chat. I actually made the same mistake, because I was arguing at first the only real definition for atheism is the lack of belief definition. I am guilty of doing it, and I said that there. I said, yes, I'm guilty of doing that too. But that chat, someone called you an atheist, Steve. Someone said, well,
right,
Steve,
I'm not an atheist, right?
And you went off the rails. Now, you may have not been in your right mind, but you said, quote, "You are wrong. I am not an atheist." And then you even started saying that they don't know what they're talking about. They're uninformed. They don't know.
But I agree with that.
And you defined atheist and how from now on,
what is wrong with that?
Was wrong. Now, after
they
that,
are wrong. But MP, how does that support? Well, hang on, MP, how does that support what you're saying? They are wrong. I'm not an atheist.
Well,
they are wrong.
By their definition, technically, you are.
Right, but theirs, that's fine. But I'm not using theirs. I've rejected theirs. I've said that numerous times. That's why I don't understand the confusion. Right.
But then
I'm not an atheist because I'm using my definition.
But
they're wrong. I'm not an atheist.
But the reason why I said yes to that was because when in that hangout, when you claimed that you weren't, and that this was the definition that they could only use when applying to you, I said, well, I see Steve is uncomfortable with being called an atheist, and if he's defining it this way, it's fine, because as long as I know what he's talking about. But it led me to believe that you were saying that one was correct and one was incorrect based on your response to that. Because generally, if someone says you're an atheist, and I'll say, well, how are you defining it? If they say as a lack of belief, I'll say, okay, yeah, I'm an atheist. Or if they say it's the belief that gods do not, I would say, no, I'm not an atheist. And then we'd go on with the conversation. But it was such a sticking point for you that it seemed like whenever someone is speaking to you in this conversation, if they can only use this definition in that way. And that's why I put, yes, I've heard you,
realize you're wrong
in that particular context. And that was the context.
Have you been explained now that that's not the situation?
Yeah. Now, after hearing you flush it out more, but I'm saying that was just my experience. Why I thought you did make the assertion that was the only way people can use it when addressing you as an atheist.
Okay. So fair enough. Because you misunderstood. I get that. When people talk about atheism to me, what my argument has been, you can't use your definition to define my theological position for me, as I use it. That's how I'm explaining it, right? You can go by any definition you want. You can think that I'm anything, but you cannot relabel my personal theological position. This is the whole argument against Anthony Flu's position, right? Agnostics are upset that atheists are trying to do that because they can't do that because I'm using the definitions I'm using. You can't use a definition and then say, oh, you are this because of my specific definition, and therefore you must use this, because they have said I must be either atheist or theist. Have they not, MP?
Yes, but then I think you put yourself up to criticism, because then you're forcing the person to use your definition after you're rejecting the fact that they're using their definition. I think if you understand that they're using their definition in a way that you don't like, it just seems more to say, okay, you view that this definition, let's move forward, instead of trying to stick to the point where you could only use mine to describe me. You know what I'm saying?
No, but if they would just say, yeah, one second. If they would just say, according to my definitions, you're an atheist. According to yours, you're not. I'm okay with that. My argument has always been by atheists that say you have to be either theist or atheist because there's only one definition.
Right.
My argument has always been against that. There are multiple definitions, right? That's been the whole argument. But MP, you've never heard me say you have to use my definition for yourself or anything else.
No, I've never heard you say it, but I'm saying my understanding was
Do you want to correct?
implication.
Do you want to change your thing back to no? You've never heard me say it?
No, I've said I've never heard you say it, but I have been. But I will be very clear. I have been in Hangouts where
Okay.
you've made it very clear that is the one and only definition that you use. You subscribe to.
Yes.
And anybody who else uses anything else is incorrect. And then I was answering the question under that umbrella of that. Yes, in Hangouts, I have seen you demand that definition should be used. But now you're saying that as long as the person kind of acquiesces to the fact that you're using it one way and they're using it another way, then it's cool. And if that's the case, then yeah, I'll change my.
What I have again, I want to clarify because I think you finally hit the nail on the head. I've clarified that I've insisted that people take my position as far as I am not an atheist, according to the definitions I use, that they accept that I use a different definition. They don't have to use it, right? But they have to be able to accept there are other definitions by which I am neither an atheist or theist, right? Would you agree upon that?
Yes, I would agree upon that.
Then that's been my argument, right? That's been my entire argument. So when Heretic is saying that I have demanded people use a specific definition, is he wrong?
No, because I'm saying you have demanded.
He is wrong.
Well, you have demanded people use specific. You just went through it. How you have demanded.
You're not listening to me, MP. Have I ever said you cannot use any definition you want for your position or anything else? Have I ever said that the philosophical definition is the only definition? In his claim,
you have not.
He has said. Wait, in his claim, he has said he has accused me of saying that atheism is solely someone who believes that God does not exist. Has I ever said that?
No, you've never said that, but you will admit that there has been times where someone has called you an atheist and said you have a lack of belief in God, and you told them they are wrong, or you've said you are not an atheist.
No, I do have a lack of belief in God,
and not give them the charity of letting them define atheist as they've defined it. You've forced upon them,
because you can't call me an atheist. You cannot call me an atheist if I'm not telling you I'm an atheist. At that point, you are relabeling my theological position. And I don't accept that. So no, you can't. Okay, MP, if a theist said, "Hey, MP, you're a theist because Romans says you're a theist," under their definitions, you're a theist. Do you accept them calling you theist?
Then I'll say, I will say, I do not believe in a God. If you accept that as theism, then that's fine, and you call me whatever you want, whatever label you choose. Like at that point, as long as you know I don't believe in the God, then whatever label you've used, it seems like you won't accept that point. You would say, well, that label is wrong, and I demand that you use the label that's correct for me, and that's where the confusion is. I
demand that people call people the correct theological positions. That I'll concede. I do that. If you're not a theist, don't call somebody a theist. I've warned theists on this too. Don't say, G-Man's argument that everybody knows God and everybody's a theist. No, if you're not a theist and you say that I'm an atheist, you're an atheist. I have demanded people label people what they want to be labeled if there's validations for it. If people say, I believe in God, therefore I'm a theist, I believe God does not exist, I'm an atheist, then you can't go and call an atheist a theist. I do believe that. By the same token, don't call me an atheist because I'm not an atheist.
Yeah, but
Steve,
we are straying dangerously close to philosophical pronouns.
So, but that's all my argument has been. Look, if an atheist doesn't want to be called a theist, don't call him a theist. If an agnostic doesn't want to be called an atheist, don't call him an atheist. You can use any definitions you want. I've never said otherwise. But you cannot tell somebody that you have to be either atheist or theist. I'm neither.
And hey, I agree with that position, and I will respect that, and that's why I do not call you an atheist. I will call you an agnostic. But if someone was to come here who doesn't know, if someone was to come here and not know your theological position and define atheist as a lack of belief and says, "Hey, Steve, under my definition, you're an atheist," I think if you then rebut and demand that they accept your usage of the word, I think then you can say you are asserting your usage as the correct usage than the other person's, especially if you know what they're talking about. Or
I've always said that according to colloquial definitions that they would be right. Yeah, I want to have my pronouns. Damn it! Don't you call me?
Identity
No,
politics.
that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
So that's but I think that people are, most people understand this, right? And I think that Heretic just doesn't. So at this point, all I can say is that I've done my due diligence to explain it to him. If he continues on, I think at this point it's just considered to be gaslighting and trolling. And I want my moderators to weigh in on that. I mean, Jade, will you give me your honest opinion? Because I don't know what else I can do on this. I don't want to continue to explain the same positions I've had a billion times. Even MP is one of my biggest distractors. He even gets it, though. We don't fully agree on everything, but I think we agree on 95% probably.
No, we're at actually like 99%, but I know that you and Heretic have this back and forth, and you and Emperor Atheist are going to have one hell of a conversation later.
I love Emperor Atheist.
He's totally convinced that you're wrong.
He is awesome.
So it's going to be a hell of a conversation. But even besides that, you have to, and I think let's all be reasonable here. If someone comes in and they've listened to these videos from before and said, Steve has said that the people are wrong when they use the term atheist this way, and they should use it only in this particular way, it would lead people to believe that you're making the assertion that one is correct over the other. And I think that's probably why some people were claiming this. But now since you've explained it, I think it's clear that you're not. You're just saying you prefer one over the other. And I think that's the problem.
He just tacks on those. He tacks on those shitty little tail ends of comments, things like "for me."
Excuse me.
But I said that's why I put those things in there, right? And
I know.
I would say everything Heretics provided only substantiates my position.
And that's
I've said without question, I am talking about for me. I've even highlighted in there as I use this. As philosophically formal definitions I use.
What I'll do is I'll put the link in with the timestamp. And you didn't make these nuances, but I think you were so upset because I think the person upset you when they called you an atheist because I think the person was trying to trigger you. And when they called you an atheist, jumped right up. And so I don't think that's a proper
triggered social.
And that's fine.
You were pretty upset.
But here's the thing, MP. I think by now there's always going to be outliers, right? There's always going to be something where there's obviously no ability to explain the entire context in one sitting, right? But as long as I've never said you absolutely cannot use the colloquial definition ever, there's only one definition. There's only the philosophical definition, because that's what the argument Heretic is making that I'm claimed, and that's what I've never claimed.
And don't get me wrong, even though I disagree with you in some of these points, I'm the first one to say if you want to learn the logic, learn it from Steve, because I do know you do have a better grasp at say the logic and the other points than I do have. So I do have to rely on you for those particular points.
So you don't think that I'm completely you don't think my epistemics is completely hogwash, right?
No, I actually rely on you and Sokka to really parse out the nuance, because I'm more into the nuance than the overarching themes. But I would say is that if we're just being reasonable here, you now would see why somebody could come to that conclusion based on what we said. And now that you've cleared it up, I think it would be dishonest for somebody to now say that you are absurding that particular claim.
But there are people that are really looking into this. Like the person Gob in the light chat, Gob something or other, Gob Barrett. After I explained it to him in a couple of emails, I think he's understanding my position better now. I think we both agreed there probably was a miscommunication that I think people hear kind of what they want to hear, and if they don't get any backstory on it, it can be very confusing. These are not easy subjects.
And there's the other thing as well, is as human beings, we're not always 110% consistent. So there are times where you may mean to say something, but you forget to drop an odd word in. I do that a lot.
Fair enough. Yes, but that's not.
I speak British.
You speak British.
Obviously, I'm not speaking.
An argument, right? I'm not. If I misspeak,
but I'm not. Yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is especially when you're upset or when you're intent on a particular argument, you can charge acid. I do it. I know I do.
Yeah, we all
you do.
We all do it.
And it's part of being a forceful personality.
Yeah, MP is not a beta male. So, right. He's just not.
Can I ask you to clear something up in that
Barney, you're beta. Barney.
Logic thingy that you write up for defining agnosticism. You define atheism as not BP or B not P.
I put it a couple different ways. I'm going to start using Alex's way of noting it because it makes more sense. That it's either not BP or not BP and not B, not P. And the reason I'm going to put it like that, and that's the way Alex uses it, is because it's some people as a soft atheist, they really are only saying not BP, but you can really kind of extrapolate it. If somebody is a soft atheist that doesn't accept the theist position, right? It doesn't. This says they lack a belief, though, but they're not outright saying that it's false, right? They're at the same time, if you think about it, also rejecting, or I shouldn't say rejecting, not accepting the hard atheist position, right? They're the equivalent of an agnostic, because the soft atheist lacks a belief in both the hard atheist. Make sense?
Yeah. Soft atheist and agnostic are more or less equivalent.
Logically, they're indistinguishable.
They're logically, yeah, but there's actually a distinction you can make, but logically,
epistemically,
yeah, epistemically, there's a distinction.
Right, and that's a huge epistemic difference. And I've noted that numerous times. But I try to explain to Emperor Atheist that logically, I don't see a difference between soft atheism and agnosticism. You want to show me what the difference is? I'm happy to look.
Well,
I have never seen.
I think he's not understanding. Agnostics claim to be agnostics, where soft atheists are more or less hold the agnostic position based on like a collateral effect. It's not that they're claiming to be agnostics, it's just that they happen to just logically be agnostics based on
right. And that's where the epistemic factor comes in, though. MP, if a soft atheist just says, look, I lack a belief in the theist position, they're really just saying not BP, right? They're not saying I also, you can't it's hard to attribute to them. It's them saying I also lack a position in the atheist position, but technically they are, right?
Yes. It's by consequence. It's not by affirmation. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. It's by consequence, not by affirmation. So that's why I want to write it the way it is, and that's sometimes why I write it as not BP, vice not BP, or not BP, not B, not B. I'd say that 5 times fast. But yeah, that's why I write it differently sometimes. It's just because the epistemic reasons are different.
Steve, you got to understand.
But I don't think that
aren't going to understand this nuance difference, because this is one hell of a nuance difference that people are going to be like, what?
Correct. It's epistemics. Epistemics is not easy. I've said that numerous times. It took me 3 years to get to where I.
Do you know what I do, Steve? I think of the old days when I used to play Dungeons and Dragons, or Advanced Dungeons and Dragons for this particular system, and the alignment system, and you just draw that out like a little matrix, and it kind of works.
Maybe. But anyways, I don't think Heretic's going to come in. But at this point, can my mods take over on this and look at? I mean, I don't know where else to go on it. You can look at all the things he's posted. Everything he's posted only supports everything I've said. Well, everything he's posted seems to be legit too. I don't think he's like changed anything.
Well, I wouldn't actually ban Heretic, but I will say this, and I do want to go on record saying this.
No, I don't want to ban. No. I'm not saying ban it, but admonish.
But now with these polls, there seems to be a group of people who are just voting to make you look bad, Steve. And I've just noticed that.
Oh, I get that.
Seems like people there's a group, and maybe they're all the same sock accounts, but they are literally voting whatever whatever. Like the obvious answer the other day, there was the whole group of people voted against you just to kind of make you, just to try to throw some shade in again. That's what happened again today.
Yeah, fight the system.
Yeah, fight the system.
the validity. Yeah, I can't imagine that many people not understanding valid, right? It was just that's what kind of threw me in there. Going, wait a minute, I don't know any of these people, and there's no way out of 107 people, 100 of them don't understand, what a valid logical structure is.
Yeah, right? It made me suspicious. But then today, when I saw the switch from 100 to 0 to all of a sudden 7, I was like, what? I was like, oh man. And then I looked at the names. I was like, oh, these are the same names from the other day. I said, okay, so this is the game they're playing with Steve. Yeah.
Well, I think they're all the same person. I really do. Now, can I substantiate that? No, but I honestly, I believe that. My justification for believing that is that they are the exact same names.
Well, shit, Rumpus voted twice against you.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. I know that Rumpus account and the Rumpus. I saw that. You're right.
Gosh, Rumpus, you've really got to hide your stock account better, dude. When you get fucked by Rumpus, he does it in plain sight.
Oh my God. You know what's funny is all my sock accounts, except for maybe a few, tend to have my name in it of some kind, right? Like Steve is a cult leader, or why are you running from Steve, that kind of stuff, right? Except for like I am STD Kane. That one's funny. Have my name in it, right? So it's kind of hard to.
I mean, for heck's sake, we give you a lot of shit. You know, for me, I've given you a fair amount of shit. No,
I wouldn't expect otherwise. I like the shit, but I mean, troll better. I like good trolls. This is not professional troll level.
We don't give Steve nearly enough shit.
Probably not.
Well, I got a reply back from D Marble. We might
Probably
have someone for Ray Comfort, or not Ray Comfort. Holy crap, Iron Rod debate for Flat.
You got a Flat Earther?
Yeah, D Marble finally got back to me. But
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Bullshit right now.
So I haven't finished watching the video yet. I got 10 minutes into it. Yeah, sorry to see is like Steve's asking for higher quality trolls. Yeah, literally. And I put 3 things that I kind of noted on that video. And by the way, I've been posting a lot in the GDC to try to facilitate discussions. That's why I put discuss on there most of my post, right? Because I'm not maybe even asserting anything. I'm just putting things out there to be discussed. Some of them are pretty good. Some they're hit or miss. But
then if something's good, then you open up a live hangout. I've noticed that. It's smart though.
Yeah, and I'll get like 300. Yeah, I'll get like 300 posts on it, right?
Yes.
But it's topics that are actually of interest, and that's the whole point. Because sometimes, I mean, to be fair, what we've done tonight is talk shit. I mean, okay, it's important shit, but it's shit. We haven't actually done anything particularly useful apart from, discuss the heretic situation, for want of a better word. And I think I'd much prefer to have conversations that are actually around a topic.
Yeah, I do too, but we gotta do housekeeping every so often.
Hey, you keep horses, you got to muck them out.
So I'm going to leave it up to my admins to take care of these things, to admonish and do as they fit. But I just want people to know that I'm not avoiding this kind of stuff, right? I like the like when MP has something to say, he'll come in and he'll engage, right? I've never not allowed him to have a conversation if he thinks that he has something to say, right? But at this point, because Heretic and if maybe 1 or 2 other people aren't understanding me, I just don't have the onus to explain it to them anymore. I don't have the willpower to either. So if other people can, that's fine. But if not, it's a moot point to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I don't want somebody to say, "Oh, well, you're just avoiding Heretic's argument." No, I've dealt with it for so long. I'll finally become okay.
Heretic.
Yay! So let me find the claims here again, so we can kind of go through them again.
Yay!
Yeah, I found them.
There you go.
My voice was a shot before. Will be now, right? Mic check, Heretic.
Anyway, Heretic, you're late. We've just finished with the conversation.
Yeah, thanks for joining us in the hangout tonight, guys. Oh, by the way, I'm deleting this video after it's posted.
Why are you?
Welcome to the Roddies. Sorry.
People already down. You see, the trolls are downvoting the video too, which is fine. They don't realize that downvotes count as
votes.
Votes, yeah. So, but watch what happen. It'll just tick by one. It'll be like 11, 12, 13, 14. Somebody has like 50 accounts, and those 50 accounts are, and so I mean, I what I'm going to do is I will, like I said, I'll post all those names in a post and say if any of these people are real, they need to get a hold of me and give it a couple of days.
Well, I think you just need to contact Rumpus, really. I reckon they're all his.
No, Rumpus won't.
But it was very funny.
Well, although he did vote it twice, that's pretty cheesy.
Oh no, I reckon all the rest of them are his as well. I mean, that's my conspiracy.
Okay, if it's Rumpus, there will be a joke in there, Heretic. You got to admit that there'll be something obscurely funny.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, so Heretic,
of these accounts.
Let's go through Heretic's claims again. Claim number one.
No. I've been listening to all this stuff all this time, and I'd like to get this train wreck back on the tracks.
Go for it.
The issue is that I made claims that you had been asserting and continued to assert over at least the past year, that atheism is solely the belief that there are no gods.
Which is an assertion I've never made.
Well, that's what your post was about.
No, it has never been.
You then decided that to make a post where you put a poll up where you were asking a popularity vote in G+ around Steve McRae has made this assertion, or Steve McRae has never made such an assertion.
Correct.
The word never was in there. And of course, before I commented on it with the evidence that I had found, because I have a long history and a long knowledge and a long background in this, right from the very first posts that were put up back in September 2016, because we had this massive discussion then. And you use the word disconnect within a recent post, and there has been a disconnect. There's been a massive disconnect between me and you, because I've never agreed with your assertions that we have to use it.
I've never asserted that.
And the disconnect may well be, if you'll let me finish, the disconnect may well be that I am reading something into what you are writing that is not there. However, my claim has always been that you do not make things clear because you like to reduce things down to logic rather than using language in its beautiful, rich, vast variety and beauty. I prefer language rather than the cold, scientific, mathematical concreteness of logic. So, in posts, you used the word never, you demanded that I find anything that does it. In some posts with Ospin Kane, you put up, and you were arguing this definition versus the lacktheist definition. I'll use your term lacktheist, even though I disagree with it.
What is the lacktheist definition, for clarity?
The lacktheist definition is somebody that refuses to give a burden of justification and just say that they lack a belief in God.
Okay.
Am I right in that? Have I got that right, or am I straw manning you in some way?
No, I'll go with that. Let's work
with that. Okay. Okay. So your post. This is just one of the examples that I actually provided as evidence. P equals some God exists. Theist equals BP. Atheist equals not BP. I'm not going to argue the logic here. Some people might say atheist should be B, not P. I don't care. I'm not arguing the logic.
Okay.
Agnostic equals not BP and not B, not P. Okay. Then you continued. Why don't you just admit that you don't accept logic if you don't accept logic? Logic clearly shows that you are wrong.
Right.
Okay.
And? Okay.
Well, it's that big. It's that big. Right. You are using logic there. You are using logic there to actually show that atheist is only either not BP or B not P, and agnostic. Agnostic is not BP and not B not P. Where you say logic clearly, and that is in capitals clearly, shows that you are wrong. Okay. When you say something like that, that is a very strict and strong claim against the position of the definition that somebody else is using, because that was the context of that whole thing.
Okay, so let me address this because now this is where context comes into play. Because no, I don't just use logic. Matter of fact, logic is not my forte. Right? I like to write. I actually write far more than I use any logical thing. And if you read most of my posts, you can see that. But here's the thing. What I'm trying to explain, and if you took the rest of it in context with the things that I was talking to Ospin with, is that he asserts that you must only be an atheist or an agnostic, or an atheist or theist. That's his claim. And I am showing by other definitions that there are other ways to show using logically that you are not, somebody is not just an atheist or a theist. Right? If you use philosophical definitions. So he is completely wrong because there are other definitions out there that show under those definitions that I use that you are not required to be one or the other. Would you agree with that?
Yes, but not necessarily under the logic basis.
Then why what you post in any way undermine what I've said and support your claim then?
because I came up with many other aspects of evidence and many other quotes that showed that you are trying to make claim and put in place your claim that atheism should only ever be used in this one way.
Which is false. I've never have. And again, you just gave us what you gave us your example of evidence. I've just showed your evidence supports my position. And you agreed with it, that there are other definitions by which I am not an atheist, so you don't have to be atheist or theist. That was the argument that I was making to Ozpin. I never said, Ozpin, you required, or as quote you say, that I demand somebody use a specific definition.
That is your claim, and I claim the opposite. I will give you another bit of evidence.
Show me the evidence.
I have given you the evidence. It is written down in that post that you put up with the specific source of the post that I took it from. Here's another one. Here is another one, Steve. Steve McRae quote: I do not hold to general colloquial definitions. I use formal ones.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
You're supporting my argument here.
I've not finished yet. I will continue this. Atheism is, in capitals and bolded, the belief there is no God by formal definitions.
Correct.
Yep.
Even MP agrees with that. Why is that an argument? That's my I've said that from day one. How does that translate into I demand you use that? That is your claim. First of all,
because that is the way that you are putting it across.
But heretic, you're literally quote mining and then try to use that as an argument. MP, let me ask you, in that statement, do you not agree with that? That in formal context, atheism is more generally defined as the belief that God does not exist. Atheism, not atheist. Or did MP leave? Oh, he's not there. All right, but that really doesn't even matter, because you're claiming that I have said that I demand somebody to use it. I even put, will you please read that again? Read the very first thing that says in there.
Atheism is the belief there is no God by formal definitions.
Yes, by formal definitions.
Which is true.
Well, hold on. Atheism is the belief. The is puts a specific value to the whole statement. The fact that you capitalized it and bolded it made you put even more emphasis on the is. Atheism is the belief there is no God by formal definition.
Which is true, correct?
That is also an assertion that that is how atheism should be used.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Absolutely.
You are absolutely.
Very
now I see wait. Now I see the disconnect. You are reading into something that is absolutely not there. And if you ever listened to anything I've ever said and anything I've ever written in, there's nothing you could point to contextually or explicitly that I've ever said that would ever give a rational person any reason to think that that's what I'm saying in there. None of them. And I've explained to you, that is not what I'm saying. Which at that point you would just say, okay, I would misread this if that is not what you're saying. You are literally implying things in there that are not there.
Okay. Well, here's Rumpus backing me up. How can you say that this quote does not imply that you believe that atheism, open brackets, and therefore atheists, close brackets, is defined by the belief that there is no God? It is 100% copper-bottomed concrete.
I believe that. Rumpus is right. Yeah, I believe that. I believe that is what is defined by philosophy. Where's the disconnect there? Heretic, you're not even making sense here. What you were just reading out, everything you've read.
That's a claim.
Wait. Asserts my position as being my position. Yes. But that doesn't make your claims correct.
You know what the problem is, and I can see it, because if we all just have to definitely admit that maybe we have a disconnect in the way we're communicating, but someone could read these posts and come to the conclusion that, Steve, you're advocating for one particular position over the other position, which you've agreed to, and by not allowing people to, let's say, refer to you
No, I have
in
not
that
agreed with
particular
that.
way. It seems like, and that's why, and I think even Heretic and some other people, not only I think us too, but other people have had this understanding that it seems like you're saying that this is the proper definition. And you've used terms like a philosophical atheist, I don't, and people shouldn't call you that, and this and that. And it seems like you're right there on the edge of saying one is right versus one is wrong. And then, you're playing the margin, and it's so close that people
MP,
can come to wrong conclusions.
If I may.
One sec, I swear to you, please. MP, the problem is I've said thousands of times that is not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying. Therefore, it is completely irrational for somebody to say, "Oh, Steve, I'm interpreting it that way," when I'm telling them, do not interpret it that way. I'm telling them that is not how it should be interpreted by any stretch of the imagination, right?
Okay.
So at that point, somebody is critically not using their thought process is right if they're deliberately misquoting me or saying I'm saying something contextually that I've said I am not saying. Go ahead, Jay.
I am not deliberately misquoting.
If I may.
Yes.
Okay. Steve has repeatedly, over and over and over and over, and I know because we've had this discussion, Steve has repeatedly said that he prefers the definition of atheism. And he says that over and over. Now, I personally prefer a different definition, and that is a definition from usage. And that is a definition that comes from the way the word atheism has been used in the English language since the advent of Samuel Johnson's dictionary. And Steve knows that. Steve knows that I prefer a different, actually there's two different definitions of atheism according to the usage of it in the English language since Johnson. Steve uses it, he's using the philosophical definition. Neither of us have a problem with that. He knows what I mean. I know what he means. He's just narrowing his definition. He's saying, look, this is the definition I prefer. It's the one that comes from philosophy. It's the philosophical definition of atheism. It's not that it has to be the only definition of atheism, because I know he has no problem with my usage of definition of atheism for the way it is used in the English language, again, given from Samuel Johnson's dictionary, because there are other definitions of in English. You could go back further. We could go back to ancient Roman times, but I am specific that this is the way I like to use atheism via usage. So neither of us have a problem with this. I know what he means. He knows what I mean. So I don't. He's not being dogmatic in saying he insists that everyone use the philosophical definition. He's saying this is his preferred usage. Just like I have my preferred usage. To me, that's all there is to it.
That is all there is to it.
Well, Jade,
there is one little bit missing.
I would rebut Jade and say this. Jade, if we are having a conversation and I call you an atheist and you're unsure about what the term means, and you say, well, what do you mean by that? And I say, well, I'm saying you lack a belief in God. And your response is, no, that is wrong. I am not an atheist. Atheist stands for the belief that gods do not exist.
That is not how I've argued it.
Hold on. I'm saying, to me, that would seem like you are saying my definition is incorrect in that moment, and yours is correct. Now, I will say this without all the other context. Hold on, Steve, just let me finish. Without all the other context about how you're right, Steve is millions and millions and millions of times has said this is not the case. He's not advocating for one over the other. But in that moment, it seems to anybody who I think is rational would say that it seems like this person is saying one definition is not appropriate at this particular point, and this definition is appropriate, even if I believe that's a definition for me, because Steve has now gone on record earlier and said that when you're talking to him, he only wants you to use this term in that context because that's the way he's using it, and he's rejecting my definition. So that's what I think the confusion is that when someone
only in labeling me,
it seems
only in labeling.
Yes.
That's the key. You can use your definition any way you want, okay? But if you're going to address me in my theological position, I request you use the definitions I'm using, just like a theist cannot call an atheist a theist for the same reason.
There's a crucial bit that MP said, which is this definition is not appropriate in this sense, or this definition is appropriate. That's exactly what I'm saying when I'm applying that definition. So when you talk about Steve, saying that he's an atheist in that broadest possible sense tells you nothing about his beliefs or about his position. So that definition is not appropriate. The definition which tells you what he believes and why and how is the appropriate definition to use in that sense. Right?
The interesting thing. Hold on, MP.
My pronouns. Use my pronouns.
Steve, the interesting thing is that MP has been talked over with the important bit of what he was going to say each time he's tried to say it, every single time, and it is the last. It is the last sentence that MP was trying to say, which was the most important. MP.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, MP. What's your last sentence?
Oh, I didn't remember because I was going to respond to Barney. Ooh, I don't remember what my last sentence was.
Well, it's all about equivocation. If you define what word you're using, then there's no reason to equivocate or, confuse the terms that are being used. So if someone defines what they mean, then, there's no reason to equivocate on the meaning of it.
Well, we're not. That's the problem. Nobody, the argument has never been what the correct meaning is. That's heretics thing. I've never made any such an argument. There's no correct meaning or not correct meaning.
That's an assertion again. Go on, carry on.
Okay, but Barney, I think Barney hit the nail on the head. When somebody's defining my position, lack of belief is not a position. It's not defining what my position is. It's a necessary extent of my position, right? It's a consequence of my position, right? But it doesn't define my position. Lack of belief is just a necessary consequence.
Well,
right?
Barney
But my position is agnosticism.
Well, Barney said two things. Barney said, as a consequence of your position, we don't know what you believe. In other words,
if you say lack of
belief, you don't know what you believe in that particular sense. Is that correct, Barney?
If you define him as an atheist and you define atheism as lack of belief, you know nothing about his position, because his position is much more specific than that.
Well, just to be clear, as an agnostic, his position is he lacks a belief. You understand that?
No. That's an epistemic problem here, though.
Well,
and by the way, Gob in the live chat, real quick, if I can ask Gob, is this making a little more sense to you? It's a lot more nuanced than you had originally thought, right, Gob, in the live chat?
But because the problem is we're getting back into the discussion about what is atheism, and I'm not onto that discussion, because that's what makes this a train wreck. This whole thing is not about that. It's about the assertions that I made, and then the demand of the apology that you've made of me. So you asked for either an apology or evidence, and I still haven't completed my evidence.
But wait a minute, 1 second.
I am going to give you.
Every evidence you've given so far you agreed supports my case and not yours, right?
I don't agree that. I don't agree that at all. You have made that assertion. You have made that assertion, and you're claiming that I'm taking it out of context, and I reject that. So there's still a disconnect between us. I want
to be fair. Does anybody else have the same disconnect Heretic has on this? Does anybody think that this is what I'm actually asserting, what he thinks I'm asserting?
No.
I think you can come to that conclusion based on without speaking to you directly. I think you can come to that conclusion. I'm not saying he's correct, but
I'm not interested in popularity.
I'm not interested in popularity either. I'm trying to get.
That's why you did a poll. That's why you did a poll, Steve. That was a popularity contest.
Other people have the same disconnect.
Right.
So
okay.
MP.
Right. I haven't finished with my evidence yet.
Well, you have.
You used the word. I have never made such an assertion. Okay, so I mean, I've got even more evidence.
I want to go one by one. I don't want to go in this rabbit hole. You've already presented two things on the table.
It's not a rabbit hole. It's the same evidence. It's the same evidence.
Let's address the things you already have on the table.
I'm accepting that you're rejecting it. I'm accepting that you're rejecting it. You just accept that I reject your rejection, and we're in disagreement. That is it. That's
okay.
the bottom line.
Not evidence.
That's the bottom line.
Then. There's nobody here that has any. Is anybody? I want to know. I want to know.
You're not even letting me give you the rest of my evidence. You're not even letting me do it. Are you going to allow me to do it? Are you going to allow me to do it?
Yes, after I'm done speaking. So, has anybody so far think that Heretic has presented evidence that supports his claims that claim 1, 2, or 3 so far? Has he presented any evidence for this? Okay, no. So nobody's agreeing with you here. So go ahead. So the first 2 things that people are, they don't have the same disconnect as you, it seems.
I haven't seen the
evidence. So it requires clarification, right? There is a miscommunication at hand.
Well, that's clear.
And that Barney is exactly what I have been saying since 2016.
But everybody seems to understand this.
Hang on. Why are you jumping in?
Because you're the only one that has this disconnect, it seems. And I'm tired of.
So I've got this disconnect. So you decide that while I'm talking, you will jump in to make me lose my train of thought and cause me a problem. Is that a good way of debating, Steve?
This is not a debate. This is you offering evidence as I've asked. The first 2 things you gave were not evidence. Nobody is accepting them as evidence.
So you claim. Other people on the poll have accepted it as evidence.
No, they have not. In order to vote, they have to give me evidence. And not one of those people have even said anything. They're all trolls. Those are all fake accounts. We've already established that. Most people agree upon that.
Right. So where is the evidence from the other side? Where is the evidence from the 19 people that said you have never made such an assertion? Where is the evidence?
I didn't ask them for evidence. I said if you think that I've said
precisely. So it's a biased poll in the first place.
That's not biased. How's that biased? I've said, if you think that I've said this,
it is.
You're making a positive claim.
And I have provided evidence. And I have provided evidence. Whether people accept it as evidence is a different matter. But I have provided evidence.
Okay, you've not provided evidence that I think anybody's accepted. But go ahead. All right, next piece of evidence, supposedly.
Okay. This is from a 30th of May 2017 post by Tyler Durden on the Great Debate Community, titled "Since I am feeling intellectually masochistic, once more into the fray." Tyler Durden, speaking to you, Steve, plus Steve McRae, TLDR. Yeah, there was a little bit of fun and nonsense going on because you were claiming you couldn't read anything that was more than a few lines. You're wasting your time asserting your definition is better. People who agree with you already agree. We've seen that. And you are not convincing to the ones who don't. Instead, let's discuss how we should go about convincing people to change their usage of a word. Then once a suitable method is found, apply that to the word atheism. Yeah. Otherwise, you just keep feeding the trolls. I haven't finished yet.
Right.
You have to listen to the whole of this.
Oh, there's more. Okay, go ahead.
Steve McRae in answer to Tyler Durden. Perhaps, but maybe it is because I want atheists to have a better argument and not look like weak pussies trying to avoid a burden of justification. You're giving an implication, a derogatory implication to people who hold the I lack a belief position there. You then continue. I have a number of people who I know have changed their position. So what I do have works. These are your words. There's verbs in the wrong way. But perhaps one day I will more formalize it. But who knows? So that last quote, I gave the context earlier, that last quote. Your whole position was about changing people and making them use your position, and then looking to one day formalize it. Oh, okay, and my interpretation of formalize it is you're going to get everybody to use it if you possibly can. Now, I take that as clear evidence that you are attempting to get people to solely accept your position on atheism.
And you're absolutely right. I have made that argument that I think it's a better definition. How many times have people heard me, heretic? I let you speak.
Yes.
I have made the argument. I have made the argument that I think it's a better definition. I have repeated that many, many, many times. Okay, that's been no big secret, right? And my correspondence with Tyler, I've read what you wrote on this. I know exactly what you're referring to. Lacktheism, as you defined it earlier, is somebody avoiding the burden of justification, which makes them look like pussies, in my opinion. Right? That's how you define the word. Lacktheist. That is how I accepted it to be. So an atheist avoiding the burden of justification. I think that is a dishonest position. I think that it makes them look like a pussy by doing that. I want atheists not to do that. So yes, I'm arguing that they shouldn't do that. How does that affect your claim that I've demanded people not to do it? I want them to argue better. Nothing, again, your evidence, what you just said, only again supports what I've said, not what you said.
My evidence is around inference based on everything that you have said in all of the evidence that I have put forward.
But I'm agreeing with what you just said. I am making that argument.
Well,
I've never said otherwise. I've always said.
Nothing to apologize for, then, do I?
Yes, you do. I've never, dude. You mental heretic. I've never said. I am not trying to get people to be better in an argument. I've never said that I think lacktheism is a good position. I think lacktheism is dishonest. I've said that countless times. Okay, but your argument is that I have constantly demanded somebody use my definition, not theirs. You owe me an apology.
You think lacktheism is a what? You think lacktheism is a what position?
You've given 3 pieces of evidence, none of which would support your claims.
You think lacktheism is a what
I don't know
position?
about that, Steve. I think this is so close, to be honest with you, that you could really go either way. I think you have to be charitable to both you and Heretic. Heretic has provided some examples where if somebody's just doing a cursory look, they would say yes.
I don't give a shit about cursory look. And
you are saying and knowing you, I know that it doesn't seem that way. But I think if you both were charitable to each other in this conversation, you guys would agree. No matter what the evidence is, you guys can read it both ways.
No, there has been 1,000 posts on this. There has been 1,000 videos on this. Charity is over. He's deliberately at this point, I think, misreading things, or he's just incapable of understanding the argument. Either way, I don't know.
Have you got evidence of either of those claims?
No, I think you guys are both too invested in it to really just step aside and just say, okay.
Well, that's fine, MP. You're welcome to that. But here's the thing. I asked for evidence. The evidence he provided did not substantiate his claims in any way. I've agreed that I think lacktheism is a poor position. And I think that people that use that to avoid a burden of justification, by his definition, which I agreed with, is a poor way to argue. I think it's being a pussy. I have never said his claim that I assert atheism is solely one who believes in God. I've never said that. I've never said that I demand people use a philosophical definition. His claims, he has not provided a single evidence to his claims.
You keep asserting that, and I assert the opposite. I assert what I have provided is evidence. So
evidence that
doesn't support agreement now. You ask for
evidence
let's do this. Or an apology. I've given you evidence. I have given you evidence. You're not accepting it. That's a different aspect.
Okay, fair enough.
A totally different aspect.
I'm not accepting it. I don't think anybody else is accepting it either. But here's the thing: if you accept his evidence, right? If you accept his evidence, please let me know. I like to ask somebody else who accepts his evidence. And if you don't accept his evidence, right, and you think that he's just gaslighting this, and you're a moderator, please intervene, because at this point I cannot explain it to him any clearer.
I think you've both got to just agree to drop the subject, and that's a sensible thing to do.
Well, it's never going to be a subject that's dropped. It's just not.
Yeah, just
I think that's the adult thing to do here, and I think both of you are adults.
Agree to disagree.
Can I
we agree to disagree. But here's the thing: I agree to disagree, but leading people and saying things I'm not saying, that's not more than disagreement. That is outright deliberately misleading what I'm saying, or misunderstanding. He's deliberately changing the meaning of what I'm saying.
I don't think he's doing that, Steve. I'm just saying, from my perspective, when you read it, it does. If you can't grant the charity that somebody reading it for the first time could come to the wrong conclusion.
Heretic is not a first-time person. He's been doing this. 2 years, MP.
Not heretic. I'm talking about any. Like,
I am. Well, then those people could come address me. We're not asking those people. We're asking heretic. Heretic has been 2 years has been saying this. I've explained to him for 2 years. So MP, don't bring in other people. Heretic is at this point, I believe, is purposely either A, purposely misleading people, or B, doesn't understand it. If there's any other options, I'm welcome to understand, open to people saying, but I cannot explain this to heretic any longer. It's too demanding.
For Christ's sake, Steve, if you write something and somebody interprets exactly what you write in a way that you do not want it interpreted, that is either a problem with your communication or with the person that's interpreting it.
Not when 99%.
I am interpreting what you write.
Heretic.
Okay,
that's correct.
Now,
that's correct up to a point when Steve comes and says, "Oh no, you have interpreted that
Barney,
wrong."
I haven't finished. Barney,
Exactly.
I haven't finished. Now, if what you write is not clear enough to actually give the exact right impression to the audience that is reading it, there is a problem with your communication.
Heretic, I have given this detailed ad nauseum on how many different posts. How many times? How many times have I clarified this, Barney? How many times have we discussed this and I've clarified this? Do you? I mean, at this point, Heretic,
I accept that at times. I accept at times you have accepted all definitions. What your assertion was in the post is, I have never made an assertion. I have produced evidence of times when
you have not. I have never.
When you have made that assertion.
No, Heretic, you don't understand. If you take a small clip of something of a larger context, then all you're doing is quote mining at this point. And that's okay.
Look, no, hold on, Steve.
Hang on. No, Heretic,
why have I kept this exact position over the last year and a half with you?
Yeah, the problem is, Heretic, is that you're a single person who's the only person that I've seen so far misunderstand me. Maybe MP every so often, but everybody else seems to get it. So my clarity is clear in this regard. You're the lone holdout. So I'm going to go through your claims one more time, and it's just let other people weigh in on it. Okay. So your claim is that I have asserted that atheist is solely one who believes God does not exist. A claim that I have never made. Nothing you provided, nothing you've said in this hangout has given evidence for that assertion, right? Not a damn thing have you said that makes any evidence that I've ever said that. Okay. Number two, your posts constantly demand X is right, Y is wrong. Well, no, I've explained to people that if there are other definitions out there, that I am not an atheist or a theist. That's it. Now, if you want to use a different definition, I've said numerous times, be my guest, as Jade pointed out. Number three, because you demand that people use the philosophical atheist definition. Again, nothing you've said in here gives any evidence for that. I've never demanded anybody use any particular definition. I've argued, as you've said, one definition I think is better, I think is more precise, and I've made that many times. I've posted on that, right? And I think lack theism, people that deliberately avoid the burden of justification, right? I think it's dishonest, but that's a different claim, right? So nothing you've said in here supports your claims in any ways. And yes, you do owe me an apology, but I'm not going to get one, obviously. So the most I can do at this point is just ask my moderators to get involved. If they think Heretic has a point, then point it out to me. If they don't, then you need to admonish him. That's it. Because I'm not going to go through this every single time when I post something and I have somebody, just because they don't understand something, makes me spend an hour explaining it to them. I won't do it any longer.
I am to be admonished. I am to be admonished, am I?
Yes.
Let's go back to your absolute, very clear statement in your poll. I have never made such an assertion.
Right. I have never made such an assertion.
I have provided clear evidence that you have made such assertions. The evidence is from you.
Can you read one of the clear evidence that he's made this assertion, just so we can all be on the same page?
Sure. Yeah, please.
I did it throughout. And it is on the post. I'm not going to do it again. There's no requirement.
Go ahead, Heretic.
No, I'm just asking just like one example, so we can all just be on the same page.
Exactly. One example. Go ahead.
Let me try and find it all again.
You read the last one where he was talking with who was that?
I've said numerous times this is by philosophical definitions. I cannot make it any clearer. If you know, I mean, if I didn't put it in a single comment, it's certainly implied by all the other comments I've ever made.
Okay.
That's a different argument.
Let's look at a different one. Welcome to the GDC. I saw your comment, but the chat was closed. You asked, are there regular rows about the meaning of atheist? To which I have to say, yes, all too often, lol. But I think by now the vast majority of the members of the GDC have a general definition they go by.
Yes.
And there was a response by Umarum, haha, the eternal squabble. Didn't really say anything. Yes, says Steve McRae, this is what we generally go by here. We use formal and academic definitions generally, such that atheism is a positive belief. However, we will use colloquial definitions, lack of belief, when we need to, that's in quotes, but I find it to be a very shitty definition.
Absolutely true. Everything you just said, I absolutely stand by, and that is my position. Thank you, Heritage.
Yeah.
You literally just provided evidence against your own argument.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Because not necessarily.
It gives the inference that you're wanting to use a single definition, but you accept.
Yes, it's a better definition.
Yes. Yeah.
That's been my argument.
We even have a wiki page on it. Now, let's address this one real quick.
So what Heretic just said, is that inconsistent with my argument for the entire time?
No, this is the whole
that's the crux of the thing, right?
It just sounds like you feel very strongly upon.
Because he's not demanding he's putting forward his argument. Sorry, Tony, you go ahead.
Yeah, let Barney speak. Barney.
No, I'm sorry, go.
Barney, a few things. One, does this substantiate a claim that I've insisted people use a specific definition? And two, is this consistent with everything I've said since day one?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Steve.
Where I will
wait. Steve.
Frustrated.
Is the formal definition a better definition?
I think it's a better definition, a more useful definition. I hate using better or worse.
Would it be better if people in the debate used the formal definition?
Yes, I think it would lead to less ambiguity.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's the argument that's being made. So I will very vehemently argue for that definition. That does not mean that I'm arguing that that's the only definition, that there are no other definitions, that that's the definition that everybody should use under all circumstances, but I will argue and present evidence why it's a better definition, why it's a more useful definition of the conversation.
And that's what we're all doing here. That's what we're all seem to be doing.
That's what we're all doing. That's true. And I reject the formal definition too. That's not correct. I don't know why people keep saying it, but it's not the formal definition.
That's a
formal definition is probably the correct way.
A formal, yes. It's not
a formalized definition. Let's just say that, because now we're getting semantics.
Yeah, let's go down the rabbit hole.
Hold on 1 second. Where I agree with Heretic, where you have an argument, Heretic, is not the fact is he demanding, is does he have a bias?
Yes.
And yeah, he does.
Of course I do. That's not his claim, though. Of course I have a bias.
We all do.
So hold on. I'll say this: if I was to point out the clip in which Steve did demand that someone in one of these chats use your definition, that I think would be more apparent to.
But MP, you're not. MP, no, it wouldn't, because you're not. You didn't see the whole context, right? I demand. Listen to me very carefully. I demand if somebody's going to label me something, right, that I get to use the definition I use for that, right? Somebody cannot label me something that I don't hold epistemically. If you call me an atheist, you're wrong, because epistemically I'm not an atheist. Would you agree?
Under whose definition? Under your definition, right?
Yeah, epistemically.
So I can't use my definition. I must use your definition.
I think by any definition, maybe I can argue.
But that's what you're saying. You're saying
lack of belief has nothing to do with epistemics.
When it comes to you, and that I can only use your definition when applying it to you, even if I don't know what your definition is.
MP, I said epistemically. Lack of belief is not a knowledge or belief thing. I don't know how it deals with epistemics. Lacking something. Right?
Well, your position, but isn't your agnostic position lacking?
Are you an agnostic, MP?
Yeah, I consider myself to be agnostic under your definition.
No, I don't care what you want. No. Pick a definition you want. What is your position?
My position is whoever, if you define atheism,
not how I define it, how you define it.
you believe
What is your
atheism,
How
position?
do you
How do
label
not an
yourself?
atheist. You define
How do you label
atheist
What's
as
your
a lack of
worldview?
belief. I am an atheist.
Oh, you're an atheist. Okay, because the other day you told me you've changed and now you agree you're an
But
agnostic.
listen, you want us to give you charity nuance, and I'm asking you for the same charity. If you
Okay.
define atheist as the belief that gods do not exist, I am not an atheist.
I don't
if you define
care
it as
why
a
you
lack of
saying
belief,
how I'm
I am an
defining it.
atheist. Under the belief definition, I would be agnostic. So that
Okay.
is my position. My position is I lack belief in the gods, just the same as you do. So
Okay, so MP, I don't want all this nuance stuff, and it has nothing to do with on my position. If you had to pick one thing, are you an atheist, agnostic, or theist? Pick one with no nuance that you want to be called.
I would have to know how you're defining atheist.
How I
If you're
define it doesn't
defining, if you're
matter. How
defining,
you
how you're
are
defining
defining
these words, I can't just
By your
pick one because
definition.
I don't know how you're defining it. If I'm defining it under your definition,
How do you want to be
then I am
called? It has nothing
agnostic.
to do with the definition. What do you want to be called? Has nothing to do with the definition. What do you want to be called?
I want to be called. I want to be called someone who does not believe a God exists. Whatever
Pick
label
a
you
word
put on
for
that,
that.
that's what I want to be called.
What word? Okay, what
Steve,
word do you? Is he gaslighting at this point? Is this
No,
not?
it's not. It's the fact
Gaslighting
that
very
it's
clear.
no, it's no. MP. What he's trying to say is, from your definition, what do you define yourself as? If you had to choose between atheist, agnostic, or theist.
Oh, if it's my definition, the only one that I'm applying, I would call
Yeah, that's
myself
what
an
I said.
atheist, and I would define atheism
No, you
as
didn't.
atheist.
Okay, that's
belief
all
or
I've been
lack of
asking
belief.
you.
I wouldn't call it the belief. But
That's all
I know
I'm
when I'm
asking.
talking to Steve, he doesn't define it that way, so I changed my
Wow.
definition.
See, he's making a presupposition that you're asking him from your worldview, which you were not, which you did kind of
Right.
make clear, but it was a bit ambiguous.
But I said 5 times, not for my definitions. Not for my definition.
Yeah.
How much more clear can I make this stuff?
MP is doing the intellectually honest thing of setting aside labels and using definitions when it's ambiguous. That's what
Except for the fact when somebody asks you if you pick a label, what label you would like to be called, I think we all can answer that question. I want to be called an agnostic.
Yeah.
But
And
you
there
agree
are
with
labels.
that, I don't care at this point because
And there are labels that I don't want you to apply to me regardless of your definition. If you define a Nazi to be a guy with a goatee, I do not want you calling me a Nazi.
exactly the same thing. Right.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
nice
just using it as-
example.
Right. That's a good way of putting it. But okay, so where we stand at this point is that again, I'm gonna let people determine whether there was any evidence shown that his claims were supportive. Clearly, I don't see how any rational person can make the conclusion that what he said does anything other than support anything I've said all along and does not support his claims.
No, I think that.
But I'm just not going to play. But I'm gonna leave it this. I'm not going to play into this anymore. I don't have the wherewithal to every time somebody not understanding me, I have to spend days and days and days explaining to them. It's just not it's not productive to anybody. So if other people wish to do that, they're more than welcome to. But I'm just not going to address certain arguments any longer for this very reason. It's not that I'm dodging them. It's just there's no other way I personally can explain to somebody to where they're going to understand it. So why bother let somebody else try to explain it to them? Does that make sense?
Pretty much.
Okay,
Yeah.
then that's all I'm going to leave it at.
And I think that's a good place to leave it.
I agree.
And speaking of which, I'm going to go and have a shower and go to bed because it's getting quite late in my neck.
Yeah, my roommates just got back from the courthouse, so I got to figure out I got to go find out what's going on. So
Yeah, you got to get some bullets in your gun. You start defending the fort.
we already got guns here. All right, so thanks for watching, guys. If Emperor Atheist gets a hold of me, I'll let you know if he plans to have me on today or the next couple of days, because I really want to talk to him because I think he's very, very intelligent. I think that he's also having some misunderstandings because he's coming into the conversation at the tail end, right? He doesn't understand that we have years worth of conversations on this, so it's a lot more in detail, right? So I understand what MP is saying. I agree with, and they might be able to interpret things different ways. I get that, right? There's a principle of charity there. I'll apply for somebody new to the community like Emperor Atheist. I'm not going to accept that for somebody who's been in this community for years that I've told numerous times this is not my position, right? So
with that, maintained it.
Thank you very much. I maintain my own position.
I think everybody's made their point.
Yeah. Midnight, go ahead, take us out. Midnight, you there? Get the last word, Midnight. Nope. Okay, Tony. Jade.
Steve, try not to make Emperor change his worldview to follow yours. Okay, please. Thank you.
But then what's the point of what's the whole point of having persuasive arguments?
This is all that we're doing here. This is what I think, right?
Yo,
We're all
if you
here.
can
We
watch
all have
him
very
and
deep ideas, and we're all trying to get ours to the forefront. Some are better than others, but
if you guys want to see something explosive, watch him and Emperor tonight, because Emperor is more invested in this position than I think any one of us in this room are. So even more,
yeah, he is vested, but it won't get explosive because I mean, there's no reason it would ever get explosive with Emperor. We have already agreed this is an intelligent conversation that we're both enjoying very much.
but it's going to be interesting because he has very strong opinions on why he believes Black is the best one. So.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's going to be the argument, but we'll see. Anyways, Tony, you didn't get the last word actually technically, so say something real quick.
Yeah, that was it.